are live, everybody, but we're also on tape just like we always are from the bowels of Lee's Music in beautiful Studio 2. It's state of the art. That's Chris Folds. I'm Marty Hastings. We're your co-hosts. And I'll tell you what, it's a good show today.
It is a good show. Yep.
Greg Stewart, the big man, going to the Paralympics. We're going to talk to him. I had a great sit-down chat with a 7'2", 350-pound giant of a man, gentle giant of a man. Carl DeSantis, what do we know about him?
Carl DeSantis is the executive director, the head of the downtown Kamloops business group, officially called the Kamloops Central Business Improvement Association. We call him Downtown Kamloops, and he's going to be talking about all things downtown, challenges and successes. And
you and I are going to dig into the White Rock Lake fire. I watched a documentary last night. It was eye-opening. It was somewhat slanted towards the ranchers and the homeowners who are rightfully angry and worried about what's happened up there.
Yep.
And I know you have a lot probably to say about that as well.
Yeah. We'll talk about their arguments about lack of support, and then we'll counter that with the Deputy Minister of Forest and the Solicitor General and what from their side of the argument.
I thought your wife was getting you a new shirt. That looks like an old classic KTW.
This is a brand new. Came just we just got them at the office to wear it at Hot Nite.
Where's the boutique shirt that you were promising last week?
I can't wear it because it's black.
Republic.
It's black and the background's black, and I was told by the powers that be that that's illegal. So
Lions. We talked about it last week. Your beloved Lions. We're back on level pegging with our betting because I won that bet. But what did you think about the Lions' performance?
I thought they showed grit and heart. They were down 31-0 at one point, and they lost 33-29. And but for an inexperienced kicker, they would have won that game. So in my mind, they're 1-0 right now.
Tomorrow, Stampeders, still Michael Riley
is not the starter. The young Nathan Rourke, the next greatest quarterback in CFL history, he's going to be starting tomorrow.
But they're still fiddling around with the idea that he might play.
He'll come in because he's basically the de facto coach.
They should learn the lesson from last week.
He decides what he wants to do. Well, had he not come into the game, they wouldn't have come back. He got them settled. He got them a couple touchdowns. Nathan came back in and looked really poised.
But you're risking
him. And he's a million years old, so you got to be careful.
All right, Hot Night in the City. You mentioned it. You were down there. I was down there. So was Herman.
Herman was down there too.
Yeah. We went down to the booth, KTW. He met a lot of people. Actually, pray for Herman. He's sore right now. His elbow tendonitis, too much thumbs upping, lockjaw from too much smiling. So prayers up for Herman. And we also did a commercial not too long ago. You can check it out right now. Eyes on the camera. Okay, buddy? Let's go. Marty Hastings here outside New Leaf Produce Market with my new best Herman. Look at the camera, pal. Stay on your feet. Herman is paying us to do this commercial, but he said this. He said, Marty, on one condition. I do not want to be in the commercial. And I said, Herman, that is complete and total hogwash. You will be in the commercial. Because I won't let him be sheepish. Not when all of his produce is edible art, and not when it's a hyper-local labor of love from his family farm, Heffley Farms. And not when he sources seasonal product from more than 40 of the best regional suppliers, like Newfeld Farms in Abbotsford, British Columbia. I had to see it for myself. Nothing like a good road trip. In you get, Herman. Yeah, but let's go! Get me some sour keys, pal. No peeking, Herman. Help my goodness, Steve. Are these strawberries ever good?
You're quiet today, Herman. Want some corn?
Have a bite, Herm. Oh, and yes, it's true. A lot of people have asked me. They say, Marty, is he awkward on camera? I say, you're darn right he is. But this is a quality man who deals only in quality produce, and he has to be seen. Right, Herm? Okay, bud, last chance to make the catch. Let's go. Embarrassing.
You're going to hurt Herman.
Chris, what do you make of today's New Leaf haul?
I like it. I was outside asking you. I recognize everything there except for these things, which you said are
Yellow zucchini.
Yeah, they look good. They look really good.
Eggplant.
Eggplant looks really good. It's a good color for your walls if you're doing interior decorating. The blueberries are great and they're good for dogs.
They're from Abbotsford.
Yeah, Abbotsford, blueberry capital, raspberry capital, strawberry capital of the world.
Peppers, kale, Walla Walla onions, straight from Heffley's. So
sweet as hell.
Oh, we also have 2 Dunes golf passes to give away. I haven't even thought about how we're going to do this. How should we give them away?
How about we just do something on our YouTube channel? We'll throw a question up there, and they can answer it pertaining to something in this episode.
Okay. Well, I don't know about that. Let's just share this episode on Facebook. Just say you love the Dunes, say you love the show, and we'll give you these 2 Dunes passes. 7'2" Greg Stewart could use this food. He's going to the Paralympics, and we're going to meet him in this next segment, which is the Tattle of Hastings. He's been trying to get to the Paralympics for 20 years now. He was on the standing and seated disabled volleyball teams, won world championships, but just never got to the Paralympics. He joined Dylan Armstrong in 2017, started training in shot put, and was throwing like 13 meters. 2019, he threw the Canadian record, and he qualified for the Paralympics. He's a thoughtful guy. He's introspective. He's a bit of a philosopher, and we sat down with him in this interview right here.
What did that actually feel like? I mean, 20 years and you finally do it.
Well, it was gratitude, it was gratefulness, all that stuff like that, because I still have mixed feelings on a part of it, because it's like, making these Paralympic Games still doesn't define me, but it does in a way, right? Because it's something that I've been training for. It's something that I've been wanting to attend for 20 years. But at the same time, that's not what defines me. Oh, Greg's just a Paralympic athlete. That's all people will know me for. No. I think people, know me for a lot of different things. So the relief part was like, well, now I've obtained that part. Right. And so I was super grateful. And, all that hard work that I've done to this point is now kind of being recognized, and I can acknowledge all that hard work. So that's kind of where that relief came from.
What was the lowest point for you during the pandemic with the unknowns and knowing that it could be robbed from you because of the virus?
It's tricky. I don't know if I got super low on it, because one thing I've really learned through my life and stuff like that is, stuff happens. Yeah, yes, I've been training for this and everything like that, and it's a bit of a low blow, but at the same time, you got to make do with what you got. But at the same time, too, there's always 2 sides to it. It's just like, oh, this is a bummer, man. Like, I was really looking forward to it. I trained and competed really well at Pan Ams as well as World Championships, and now I had the opportunity to go and compete at the Olympics. Like, man, this is crazy. And then all of a sudden, oh, okay, well, we're Team Canada's not going, and it's like, oh shoot. I didn't say shoot though. And then all of a sudden they're like, we're going to postpone it. It's like, okay, there's a glimmer of hope. Right? We all know what happens when we hold on to hope and whatnot, but still, it was just tricky. It was tricky, right? Because so much was going on then.
I look back to the story that I wrote after you won silver at Worlds, and I'd kind of forgotten about the scream heard around the world on your 6th throw, the one where you kind of dig down deep.
Greg Stewart lying in second position, that lifetime best of 15 meters 87, having thrown 15.82 in his career. And he's got a great distance with that. Now,
it was anger. You said that Dylan had kind of asked you to find anger and use that as fuel. Is that still what you use? Do you still try and get angry when you're up there?
I think over the years now that I've really kind of been looking at it, I don't think it's so much anger per se. Like, anger definitely is jet fuel, but I think for me, what my jet fuel is just being happy and enjoying it, right? Like, I was reading this book a little while ago. It's How Champions Think. And the greatest athletes just don't think. They just do it, right? I'm sure we've all heard that before, right? And on that throw, there was no more pressure. I already had second place. I just got to go out there and throw. I didn't think about anything. I just threw it, right? And I think that's what really helped me throw that bit further. But when you listen to the video, there was definitely a lot louder yelling. And, maybe I was just expelling some leftover rage or whatnot.
Pretty much every time I've talked to you, that the medal is just basically an icing on the cake. And going is the real accomplishment. Why do you feel that way?
I think the biggest reason why I discuss it that way is because being that kind of that all-in mentality can be very devastating to somebody if they don't achieve that, right? If we don't meet our expectations, how often do we fall down a wormhole? How often do we just beat ourselves up and everything like that? And I with the mental health that I'm constantly practicing and my awareness and stuff like that, I don't want to go down that, right? So that's why I'm like, constantly teaching myself and training myself to be like, it's not just that. My medal's not going to define me, right? But at the same time, it'd be super cool to get one.
Yeah.
Right? Because, when there's times where it's like, oh, I don't feel very good, or I feel worthless, or whatever the case, I could look over and be like, oh, hey, oh yeah, right, that happened, right? So there's that part to it. But ultimately, this whole journey and whatnot, like, I don't get to take anything with me when I leave, right? When I'm done on this earth, I'm done on this earth. That medal just will continue being that medal, right? And so, I'm just practicing, a different level of mindfulness around it. So
a lot of athletes, and I think about John Rahm recently in golf, he said that he had this calm and this peace because his personal life was in such a good spot. He just had a baby. And this is obviously a personal question, but how's your personal life? Are you feeling happy?
No. It's funny. The other day, I was thinking about this exact question. I'm like, everything is great. When's something bad going to happen? Right? I can't be living in a great life like this, right? Oh, I got named to the Paralympics. Oh, I'm getting all my kit stuff. Oh, my relationship's going well. Like, what's going to happen? Something's bad's going to happen, right? And then I ended up just having a bit of a miscommunication with somebody, but we all worked it out and we all moved forward. But like, personally, like, I'm healthy. I have loving people in my family. I have a loving relationship. Everything I want to say feels good right now. And that is a great headspace going into these Paralympics.
Do you get to go with anyone? Does any of I think you have a girlfriend or your family, can anyone go with you?
Yeah, no one gets to go. This is a completely different game. Dylan Armstrong, my coach, he's not even coming. Basically, when I fly out of Vancouver on Saturday, I'm the only one in Kamloops going.
Do you wish he was going to be there, Dylan? Like, would you rather?
Totally.
Yeah.
I would love for him to be there, but at the same time too, he's got a family and he's also a busy guy. But at the same time too, when he's not at my training sessions and stuff like that, I'm used to training on my own. So I think this is also an opportunity for me just to continue to show, even on when I'm by myself, I still have a huge team behind me. So
how about air travel for the big guy? Is it a battle for you?
How about the big guy sleeping in a bed?
Do they give you a bed there?
Oh yeah, a cardboard bed. Yeah.
Oh, this cardboard. I forgot about the cardboard bed too. Holy.
Yeah. I've actually, so I recently just became a CAN Fund recipient. So just quick shout out for them. Like, if you're ever looking to support athletes, check CAN Fund out. But I was actually on a Zoom call with a bunch of CAN Fund athletes, and they surprised me with this, being a recipient of it. I asked them, like, hey, like, what was it like? And they're like, the beds, don't worry about the beds. We managed to get like 6 people on one. I'm like, okay, good. Well, then again, I weigh the weight of 3 people. So, only 2 of me are going on it. But air travel. Like, I just found out today that our flight going there, Japan's only allowing it to be 40% full.
Okay.
And so there's a lot of stipulation and stuff like that. Basically, when I get on the plane, I got to find my own little spot.
You don't get, what about first class? You don't fly you first class?
I don't know at this moment. My flights haven't been booked. We just know we're leaving at that. But I try to do my best to get.
I would hope so.
Yeah,
like,
no, it's
like your back's been a bit of like, you don't want to be stiffening up on the plane, right? I mean,
totally. No, we've made it very clear that I'm like, I don't fit on planes. I don't fit in anything. So That's common for me. So
You told me last week about the emails and asking the public to reach out to you with stories or jokes. How's the inbox looking?
it's awesome, man. I don't know what, I'm not trying to put expectations that I'm going to have a million emails in there, but I definitely have, I'd say I probably have close to 100 emails in there. And, I think, I'm still pushing it too, the Greg in Tokyo 21 at gmail.com. Yeah, please keep checking it out if you can. This is an opportunity for not only myself to have an experience in Tokyo, but it's an opportunity, I think, for the community to be a part of it too. Right? I think it'd be like, all of a sudden just be like, have a great throw, and then next thing you know, flip it over and somebody's telling a terrible joke or a really funny story, and just being like, just be able to continue living that experience. Or even if I threw poorly, to come back in there and all of a sudden somebody like, we're cheering you on, we're excited for you, and then using that for more fuel to go and throw a bomb. Like that's what being in the moment is for me. So
I was going to say that kind of ties into what you were talking about earlier. That's definitely not anger that you're drawing on. That's more that mindfulness and encouragement instead of that jet fuel of anger.
Exactly. Yeah, I would say maybe it's more so jet fuel of gratitude.
He's probably going to be inundated with tons of stuff to read and help his mental focus.
Yeah, he already has, and it's a different kind of strategy than you'd expect.
Yeah.
During your competition, reading a binder full of emails that you've printed off.
That's people. What got me. I'm like, this is the Paralympics, and you want to read stuff between it, but whatever works for him, right?
So he's definitely in the medal conversation, and we'll run on the ticker the time that he's going to be competing. It's the end of August. Let's move on to your segment now, which is Above the Folds. We're going to talk about the White Rock Lake Fire. Where do you want to start?
Yeah, this has been in the news for different reasons in the last few days. We're filming today on August 11th, 2021, and in the last few days, there's been much criticism of the BC Wildfire Service for their response or lack thereof to the wildfire when it started on July 13th, and more specifically to Monty Lake when the fire jumped the highway and destroyed many buildings in that community just south or east of Kamloops. And last Friday, so last week, Solicitor General Mike Farnworth had a press conference, an update on the wildfires. But during that press conference, he issued a blistering rebuke to those who stayed behind and defied evacuation orders. He claimed that they were putting firefighters' lives in danger, their own lives in danger, and that they should leave when ordered to leave. The people who stayed behind weren't doing it because they were defying government. They were doing it because they want to save their properties, and many did. And they knew they were risking their lives, but they felt and they feel that if they're not going to get help, they have to save. This is their livelihood. This is their life. Like one lady called me before it got to Monty Lake. This is weeks before, and she was upset that they weren't actioning the fire on the mountain. And there was 11 properties. They were staying there. They were digging guards with their machinery. And she says, I have to, because if I lose this, it was uninsured for whatever reason, she'll be homeless.
Mm-hmm. I watched the YouTube video last night, the story of Monty Lake and Paxton Valley, and there's a few messages, and one of them is they want the government to drop the red tape and bureaucracy when it comes to allowing residents to fight these fires.
Right.
And I can understand why. When you don't think that there's going to be BC Wildfire people staying back to protect your property, and to see the visceral anger from these people was pretty eye-opening.
Yep.
Now, this documentary or video was pretty slanted toward the ranchers, and we don't know the whole story. I'm sure BC Wildfire might have another point of view, but what stood out to me was the social media kind of abuse that some of these people were getting for staying behind from, city slickers. Who were saying, you guys are morons and you're putting other people in danger. Well, what would you do? And this is what they were saying. What would you do if your livelihood is going to be taken away, your cattle are going to be killed, and your house is going to burn down? What would you do?
Well, exactly. I mean, that's par for the course for Twitter and social media. It can be really toxic, and most of the people talking are not experts. They don't know what they're doing. I think you have to default to the experts. In this case, the experts are, it's not just one expert. The BC Wildfire Service is an expert in fighting fires. Rick Manwaring, the Deputy Minister for Forests, he said this week, we responded within 30 minutes of the call, but by the time they got there, it was a rank 4 fire, which he explained that means you can't fight that. You have to run from it and get everyone out of the way because it had 40-kilometer-hour winds. But the experts are also the ranchers. They've fought these fires before. You have a friend who lived in Falkland in 17 or 18, and they had to...
No, it was Monty Lake. It was Monty Lake,
yeah.
and their house, I believe, is now burned down. It was right by the store.
But they had to leave then and stay at your place.
Yeah, they brought their chickens and their dogs into my apartment.
So there's ranchers out there who have fought fires before, so they do have expertise. And it's not like they have a garden hose. They have machines. They have water trucks. They know what they're doing.
And the residents will argue with that point that you just made, that BC Wildfire was there right away. They said that this fire could have been stopped 48 hours before. It was 10 hectares and it grew to 300 because the government said, no, we're not going to let you bring your heavy machinery in and take care of this on your own because risk factors and liability and that kind of thing.
Then again, though, Rick Manwaring, the deputy minister, said in his press conference 2 days ago that the residents were helping the crews. They were working alongside BC Wildfire Service crews, building guards. So the truth is somewhere in the middle. Or maybe other ranchers were helping, others were left alone. I don't know. On August 12th, which is tomorrow, the Manwaring said they're going to release a report, an incident report that details minute by minute how the response was to this fire. It'll differ from what other people are saying, but we'll see what it says.
Right. I mean, do you think the ranchers are going to trust that report if it comes out and says, well, we did our job properly?
Probably
investigating
not.
Yourself.
And I think it's specific to each rancher. I think what we have here is a massive fire over a massive area, and I think different areas had different responses, and that's going to inform their opinion of the response to the fire.
From Monty Lake to downtown Kamloops we go in our next segment, which is Last Week, This Week. Well, that's a lovely photo from Dave the Hawk Eagles of Kamloops this week. That's Carl DeSantis. Chris, before we bring Carl in, could you do a bit of an intro for Carl? Who is he?
First of all, what I wouldn't give for the scenery to look like that right now, considering all the fiery hell we're in right now. That's a beautiful photo.
It is.
Carl DeSantis is the executive director of the Downtown Kamloops Association. It's the association that represents businesses downtown and advances their needs, their wants, and wants to make downtown a better place. It's the sister organization to the North Shore Business Improvement Association, whose executive director, Jeremy Heighton, we've spoken to on the show.
Let's bring Carl in right now. Carl, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us this morning. How you doing?
I'm actually doing very well. Thank you for having me.
That's good. We were just down. Both of us were at Hot Nite in the city on the weekend. How was the event? How did it go?
Well, you know what? I'm interested in your feedback. The feedback I received, I was there all day, and the feedback was absolutely positive from everybody. It felt right for people downtown to be out and about and enjoying everything that we have. And it was great to see all the smiles and of course the cars. I mean, we had 477 vehicles downtown for the event. Clearly, our city has an appetite to get back outside and get back downtown.
That's right.
What did you fellas think?
Yeah, we had a booth down there, Kamloops this week, and we were talking to a lot of people coming by and then walking the blocks. And what I noticed was everybody I talked to, like you said, there were smiles, and it was almost like surreal. Like, we can't believe we're together like this because it was been so long we were afraid to do that. But it was almost like this is weird, but so nice. And the fact that out of the blue, it was almost like serendipitous. There was no smoke in the air. There was no campfire smell. It was almost like a perfect day where all the troubles are at bay, at least for that day. It was nice.
It truly was magical. Only the day before we had smoke, of course, and then since then we've had more smoke and more. It's easy to find a bad news story, but yeah, you're right. It was truly a magical day for everybody involved.
I was one of the unmasked people, and I think most of the people down there were unmasked. What did you make of that? Just the number of people that were out there and not wearing masks.
You know what? We're following the order from the BC government and Dr. Bonnie with step 3. So we were in compliance with everything. But I'm abundantly aware that things are going the wrong direction for some of our neighboring communities. And when you look at Kelowna, if you look even down the States, if you want to bring them into the conversation, there's a lot of problems. We're not through this pandemic yet by any means. And does it concern me? Sure, it does. An event concerns me when we see that, but it also concerns me just for the community walking around. Transmissions can happen at any time to anybody. And it's something that we all need to be aware of.
And that's why we should be vaccinated. That's the big thing.
Yeah.
Hot Nite felt like a bounce back. What's next? What's the next big show downtown?
As we look forward, I'm really excited about some of the plans that we do have. Starting at the end of summer, you know that we've got Music in the Park resuming for 2 weeks, a short period of time, which is fantastic. At the end of the Music in the Park event on August the 29th. We were just yesterday meeting with a fellow you know really well, Mike Miltimore, and we are talking about Battle of the Bands, introducing a Battle of the Bands event in the park. And this is brand new, something we're working on as I speak, actually, just to try and secure enough interest, which I think there will be, and really support our youthful musicians. So Marty, Chris, it's not necessarily going to be just you with your air guitar and harmonica. This is a band.
This is the real deal. Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's going to be August 29th, and look for lots of information to be announced soon. We're also working with one of the cultural groups to bring back CaraFest. I believe the date is the 18th of September, and that's going to be absolutely fantastic. A lot of information to follow. That'll be in Riverside Park as well. This one I'm particularly in favor of. It involves drinking beer. It's Oktoberfest, and we're looking at that for the 25th of September. And it's going to be absolutely fantastic. We're looking at Victoria Street with a series of tents, beer vendors, and papa bands. So, gentlemen, get your lederhosens and be ready to have some fun for that one.
If you serve red wine, you might get some unusual Facebook posts from Chris Fold, so I encourage you to maybe do that. The reason everyone wants you to bounce back, downtown to bounce back, the whole city to bounce back, is because it's been a down time. COVID, fires, it just seems like it never ends. So how hard has this time been?
You know, it feels that we just can't cut a break. We went a year and a half or so through the pandemic, and the businesses downtown were able to pivot in most cases and survive. We were looking forward to a summer of extended patios, and we introduced those in cooperation with the city. Excuse me. And they did work really well, and they continue to work really well. But then these fires hit us and accelerated with the smoke. And it has been, I don't have to tell you, everybody knows about it. It's just been absolutely disastrous for our community. You can't go outside for any period of time and enjoy things. So yes, it has impacted us. It's negatively impacted our city, not just downtown, our entire city. But having said that, our thoughts, our prayers go out to everybody who has been impacted much worse than we are. You know, gee, we can't go outside, but boy, some people have lost their homes, their livelihoods, their communities. Absolutely terrible devastation. And one just can't help but think what the difference would have been should an earlier response been initiated.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And we talked about that on the show here, and it's been talked about ad nauseum in the media and elsewhere. It is tragic. Now let's go from the events downtown and the hopeful bounce back to the ongoing issue of social concerns. We spoke to your counterpart, Jeremy Heighton, a few weeks ago. He's got the issues there. They're growing the North Shore with some neat stuff, but they have the social issues that have been well reported and talked about. And you're immersed in it down there. And you come from, I think, with a unique angle, because you used to be a police officer in your former career. So you came from the enforcement thing. Now you're the executive director, and you understand the compassion, but also you need to protect the business owners. So what is the status downtown right now with respect to this issue?
It's a tough time. It's a tough time for everybody, our entire community. I want to say it's not just Kamloops. I'm not sweeping anything. I'm not deflecting. It's not just Kamloops. This is a nationwide, in fact, a global pandemic all on its own. The issues of addictions, homelessness, and mental health, they're tragic. They are negatively impacting our entire globe. And it really is a problem. And yeah, you're right. For 30 years, I was a cop back in Calgary. Different time. But I find it extremely frustrating, and I feel horrible the way things have progressed in a negative direction for everybody. You can't walk without seeing the negative impact of crime on our streets, whether it's graffiti or
broken window or whatever.
It's just it's extremely frustrating. And can things be done differently? They absolutely can. Jeremy and I and the other organizations, we do meet. And we meet with the RCMP and with the city and Interior Health and Mental Health and BC Housing and other organizations. You know, I would suggest that we meet ad nauseum, to be blunt. We know what the issues are. Everybody knows what the issues are. And it's time to move past that and actually take some action. My position, Jeremy's position, we're advocacy. we're promotion for our communities, for downtown and for the North Shore, and supporting our business communities. We don't have the legislative authority to make the differences that are required. Things need to start with the court system, in my ever so humble opinion. They're not prosecuting individuals. They're not holding people accountable. So take the mental health out of it, take the addiction side out of it, just throw in just your basic criminal activity. They're not holding those individuals accountable. And the question is, why not? And if they're not, what are they doing? And that's a logjam. There's a lot of finger pointing going on. And you know what? I see people pointing fingers at the city, at the RCMP, at the community services officers, at the courts. You know, let's just start at the top, which is the court system, and get things back to where they should be. Hold people accountable so that we can feel comfortable back on our streets. A lot of other things need to be addressed. Yes, they do. But that's where the big logjam is, in my opinion.
Speaking of Parliament, or speaking of politics, your wife just ran for the Conservative nomination, and she was one of the favorites. She fell just short. Frank Caputo won the race. How's she doing after that race, and how was the experience for her?
You know what? She's resilient. She's absolutely fantastic, and she's doing very well, actually. And I appreciate you asking. Her and I are actually, right after this, we're just going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to head out to the coast and have some relaxation time. It was a really good learning opportunity. I think our big takeaway in the, I guess it was a 7-month journey. I am just so respectful and appreciative of the support and the friendships that we made throughout this community, throughout the rural communities in the region. It's unbelievable how many incredible people there are out there, and I look forward to long-lasting relationships with many of them.
Okay, Carl, the stage is yours for the final word. Anything you want to talk about, go.
Anything I want to talk about. You know what? This has really been a tough time, Kamloops. It really has. I don't have to tell you that. But rest assured, our downtown is open for business. We really do appreciate you. We value you. And we look forward to offering all the things that you really look forward to year after year. The Artisans Program, music in the park, all of the different events. And when it's safe to do so, we will do so. We look forward to our relationship with the Blazers and getting back to the rink once we get past the step 4 in September. We look forward to Santa Claus coming to town because that's an annual event that everybody looks forward to. And I can tell you, we've already had discussions about the parade. We are committed to safety downtown and working with our partners and the other organizations involved in all aspects of community safety and everything that is required to make our city the city it should be and once was. We'll get there. It's been a tough go, but with your support, we can all work together and do so.
All right, Carl, I love the sound of the beer event. Maybe when we're down there, we can have a pint together. Until then, we'll just say cheers. Have a good day.
Thank you, fellas. It's been a pleasure.
Chris, thoughts on the show?
Good show. Carl's, again, we got a lot of passionate guests on the show, and he's passionate for the downtown. And him and Beverly are relatively new to Kamloops, where they really made their mark. He's the head of the downtown. She's the head of Tourism Kamloops, and it looks like they're in it for the long haul. The show was good, the wildfire aspect, when we're talking about the wildfires, that's going to be an ongoing story as we go forward, not just for the fires, but for the what happened and why. There'll probably be inquests and all sorts of stuff coming from this.
It's nice to hear from Greg Stewart. This is a guy who basically had a large ping pong paddle for an arm, a prosthetic, and was a 2-time Canada West Defensive Player of the Year, a CIS Defensive Player of the Year. Now he's a Paralympian. So check that interview out. I'm going to post the whole thing. Thanks again to our title sponsor, New Leaf Produce Market. To Herman again, prayers up. He's battling right now just out of RIH, but he's looking better. His color's looking a lot better.
Yeah.
And if you want to join the team, the advertising team, the Last Week Clique, email me at klw@kamloopsthisweek.com. Let's talk business. For Chris Folds, I'm Marty Hastings. Mike Miltimore, Bonnie, Magic Mike and Bonnie doing their thing behind the camera. We appreciate you. River Song Guitars, Lee's Music. We'll see you last week.